Thanks for joining us here for Cult Fiction. We are doing the Electric State today, the new movie that is on Netflix, starring Chris Pratt and Stanley Tucci and some other people. It's
It's
Millie
literally
Bobby Brown.
the
Millie Bobby
actual
Brown
star.
Say her name.
um,
Say her name.
from Stranger Things fame. Millie Bobby Brown is in it. So let's get right into it. We might go around the table once after we're done with Electric State and talk about some other stuff too. We'll see what comes to mind. I want to kick this off because here's my deal with the Electric State. Uh, I liked it better when it was The Matrix. I also liked it better when it was Surrogates. I feel like I've seen this story a bunch of times, and I think it's the best movie I've ever seen that I didn't like, right? Like it has interesting effects. I love Giancarlo Esposito, um, but I felt like everything missed. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't. There was no gravity to it. I felt like there was no. I felt like there was an opportunity for some real interesting depth. I also feel like as a society, we're getting to know AI a little bit more and a little bit better, right? And we know that robots don't just suddenly come to life and start demanding their rights. You know, like our PCs don't do that. So, and they never bothered to explain how these robots came to life, so to speak, right? It just was like one day they decided to rise up. No, that's not how computers work, right? And I think we all kind of know that at this point. Um, I just felt like it wasn't very good. I liked Chris Pratt. I liked Millie Bobby Brown. I thought they both did a good job. I thought it was interesting. But am I alone? Like let me go to Joe because I feel like you're gonna hate everything today. So maybe you'll back me up and hate this movie. Go, sir.
It's fucking amazing. This is this is this is the best movie I have seen all of yesterday. Um,
Move
so
over, Citizen Kane.
Wow. I
no, I
guess I
mean,
walked into that.
no, I was bored. Um, I think Giancarlo Esposito and Woody Harrelson were the best parts about this entire movie, honestly. Um, I wasn't feeling anything else. I thought the visuals were beautiful,
Sure,
absolutely gorgeous.
sure.
The CGI, just the way everything kind of flowed together was just wonderful, man. I really enjoyed that. But the story was boring, it was flat. Um, I was trying to, when you said the Matrix, I was like, what are you talking about? And then it clicked and it's like, okay, yeah, the rise of the machines, that kind of thing. If you've
Not
never
just that, but
seen,
like everybody plugged into their stupid looking headset.
Thought that was more
yeah,
Ready Player One
Yeah,
yeah,
and
than
it
Matrix.
was
I'd
also
agree
it
with
was
Derek.
also Ready Player One, right? Like I've seen this movie three
I
times
thought it was
before.
way more Ready Player One. Yeah,
Right,
I didn't get Matrix from that, but I got the Rise of the Machines. If you've ever seen the Animatrix, the 5 DVD set
right.
that you can buy for the Matrix, they have a whole background on the way the Matrix started and stuff like that. Like it goes over the whole like
Right, the
second
War of the
Renaissance, and that's kind
Machines.
of like
Right, right.
that's where I went when you said that. Um, but yeah, aside from the visuals and Woody Harrelson just being Woody Harrelson and awesome, and
What's Woody Harrelson in this
Giancarlo
movie?
Esposito,
He's Peanut,
The
what's that?
Mr.
robot
Peanut.
Yeah, he's
or
Peanut.
Oh, okay. All right.
the
All right.
leader of the
Yeah,
Yeah.
the cast was actually out of control if you think about it.
He's not
Yeah.
Peanut in the beginning,
Yeah, the
right?
cast was
I
incredible.
mean,
Dude,
even
the cast is
Captain
so deep.
America was Chris Pratt's sidekick.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't
you
pick
could
that
go
out,
down the
dude.
list.
I did
right.
not realize Anthony Mackie was that guy until Caitlin said it, and I was like, oh, of course. They put a filter on his voice, but damn it, of course it is.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
Alan Tudyk's in there. There's so many people. Stanley Tucci was textbook Stanley Tucci. Such a deep cast, such a fun cast.
Right.
Even the guy that Chris Pratt ends up shocking because the guy doesn't want to pay for the gun.
Right.
Even that guy
Even
he's kind of an it guy right now. He's got his own show on one of the streaming services right now. They're talking about if there's been speculation that if they, recast Kang, he might be Kang.
Oh, really?
So and
Okay.
he was in the movie for like, a minute and a half.
It looks familiar. I couldn't
Yeah, you
place
know,
it.
Yeah,
like
dude.
you look him up.
George
He's having
Costanza
his,
was in
like,
it. Millie Bobby
moment.
Brown's
Dude,
foster dad was in it.
when he walked out the
Right.
end of the movie, I thought he was dead. I was like, oh shit, he's still around.
Right, right.
Jason
Like there was
Alexander, yeah, he popped
what
out.
an amazing cast, and that's what makes it even more tragic
I'm-
as far as I'm
I'm
concerned.
gonna hit on the cast in a minute.
So
All right.
I thought the cast is what made it fun and enjoyable. And granted, I haven't seen Borderlands yet, and I think that's kind of what they were going for with Borderlands because they knew they had a flat fucking movie, so they
Right.
stacked the cast. Um,
Didn't help.
the same thing with this is like you got a stacked cast. I'm gonna watch it for Millie Bobby Brown or Chris Pratt or Stanley Tucci or whoever you're watching it for. You're gonna watch it for that reason. You're not gonna watch it because you want to get deep in the story or anything else. But the visuals were great. The ending was predictable.
Right.
Of course, the brother comes back. Spoiler. Uh, whatever.
Right.
I watched it. I'm gonna forget about it in 3 weeks.
Right. Right. And that's that's the bummer. Gus, I'm interested to hear what you have to say about the cast.
Okay, so I got like some good, bad, and some ugly. So, and there might be some spoilers in here and shit, but I'm gonna try to not spoil it. So first, I think that there's this formula here when you guys are talking about the cast, and I call it the streaming casserole. Right? And here's what they do. They take a movie, they take about 6 or 8 different plots that's going to hit just about all of their different target demographics. They got these little parts of these different deals in there, right? And then they take all they take a cast member that everybody will dig, right? If you like, what's that one that we watched in the fucking 80s with Winona Ryder? You got her, you got like Millie Bobbie.
Stranger Things. Right.
You got her, you got Chris Pratt, right? You got different deals. I didn't know Woody was Peanut. I thought they were trying to whatever. But so you got all these different parts and you're like, oh shit, that looks good. And the trailer's really good. The trailer looks good, right? Because I watched the trailer, I didn't know shit about it. I was like, this is a dumb name. This is some dumb shit. And then I watched the trailer and I'm like, oh, fuck, that looks cool, right? So it's this streaming casserole and they do it continually, right? They have so much money. I think it's an easy payday for the actors and actresses. They grab onto it. It's super fucking quick because like Netflix or whatever streaming giant has this formula down and they just pop them out. Like I bet you this movie didn't take 6 months to fucking make.
So what were the formulaic parts that you're thinking of?
So I took a step back because I wanted to turn it off because I was like, this is dumb, right? I'm seeing all these different like okay, so the formula like it's a quest flick, right? It's a quest flick. It's like Han Solo's in it, right? Fucking Han Solo, the smuggler's in it, and he's going to help you get to where you need to, right? There's all of these different
tropes.
Right, there's tropes, right? It's filled with them. I got a whole list. The fucking Ewoks, T-1000, fucking, you're jacked in from Stranger Days. I was getting the Stranger Days throwback. Buddy being on the VR headset. But
right.
so that's where I'm at on this. And then there's the villain, right? Like some kind of whatever. So I'm gonna shut it off because this is garbage and I could do something better, but I'm not gonna let you guys down. So I took a step back. I'm only motivated by fucking guilt on this shit anyway.
Right.
Like just to let you guys know. And I love you. But I took a step back. And when I came back, I was like, okay, let's take a step back. Let's move on. It's a fucking great fairy tale. Watch it as a fairy tale. It's bitching.
This is what I came to at the end of it too, is that I was like, if somebody had told me that this movie was for 12-year-olds,
perfect.
I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more. Right.
That's kind of what, like, I honestly, we sound like a bunch of fucking 45-year-old curmudgeons right now. Because this movie probably was not for us.
Right.
And we're just like, oh, it sounds like you mean it sounds like a movie that came out 25 years ago? It sounds like a movie that came out 31 years ago? Yeah, because there's fucking 15-year-olds who haven't seen those movies. Right. You know, that's the thing, is like at some point, it's the same thing with Damsel, you know? Like Damsel wasn't for us. So there's a lot of guys that I respect in the medium, whether it's, you know, what's his name, nerdrotic or critical drinker, but it's like at some point we come off as 45-year-old curmudgeons, that it's just like, I didn't like this movie that like was for fucking 15-year-olds. Well, yeah, weird,
Okay,
huh?
okay, but I would say this. I would say this. I mean, it was PG-13, right? So if it was gonna be like a kids movie, it should be like PG, right? But PG-13 is like a general, like everybody should enjoy this kind of movie, right?
And everybody could see. That's the other thing. I think I still think we're being a little too, like, I know, like, for you, I was going to talk, one of the things I was going to talk about is the first 5 minutes of the movie. I was like, I know why Jubal doesn't like this movie. It's AI.
Right.
And but a part of that is like, that's like saying I didn't like the Congo because I'm really into apes and I know that apes can't sign that much shit. It's like, okay, so that.
Right.
Like,
Right.
that,
Yeah.
right? But
It's like
it's a
sometimes you just
sci-fi
gotta let a
movie.
movie be a movie.
Right, you got to allow a movie to be a movie. The fact of the matter is this had AI in 1994 when they had like bubble-backed fucking computers at the same time.
Right.
That doesn't make sense because it's a movie.
Mm.
You have to allow some fantasy,
Okay.
The fucking the guy was like he might as well have been playing Oregon Trail on his fucking computer screen. At the same time, there's supposed to be AI everywhere.
Right.
It's a movie.
So real quick, I'm just curious how many people here know this was based on a book?
I did not know that.
I only know that because it says it at the end of the book, that at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
That's the
I mean,
only reason I know.
I knew it because I read it. I read that it was based on the
Okay,
book.
or there you go.
So Alex read it. Caitlin also read it. I didn't read it. So there's
Right.
some pretty staunch differences between the movie and the book, apparently. So Alex, I'm genuinely curious, since you did read the book, how did you feel?
No, he
about
says he read that it was a book. He didn't.
Yeah, I
read
didn't read the
I
book.
thought he said.
I just, yeah,
Gotcha.
like when reading about the movie, I saw that it was based on a book, but I
Right.
didn't read the book.
I haven't read the book. I actually would read the book. I feel like the book probably would be quite interesting, right?
Yeah, so I guess it was kind
Possibly.
of dumbed down to a PG-13 movie.
Totally.
From
Yeah.
For the
Yeah.
record, I didn't dislike the flick, by the way.
The thing is you know what? I would have, I'll say this. I would have liked it less if I had paid to see it in the theater.
Hmm.
That might have irritated me a little bit. But
But-
since it's on my streaming service, I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to get movies of this quality on my streaming service, essentially for free, whatever that means, right? Like, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm like, that was a pretty decent movie for remember what straight to video movies used to look like?
Yeah.
A straight to
True.
video movie. Ugh,
So
rough, right?
What do you think, Al?
So, what's
Sorry.
that?
Yeah. I'd like to hear what it.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, like I remember just seeing that it had gotten torn apart, by critics and whatnot. The scores were super low on Rotten Tomatoes and everything. I was like, wow. So I was expecting this utter and complete dumpster fire. I still would not really call it good.
Right.
But I mean, the reviews that I saw and the scores I saw, I'm like, Jesus, it's not that bad. I've seen far worse movies, and but still, admittedly, it is somehow less than the sum of its parts.
Right.
It has all these interesting kind of concepts in it, but it just doesn't gel, and it feels like, I mean, I like Chris Pratt as much as anybody, but he phoned this in. I mean, this was like, he was on the set for like 3 days, maybe, or something, because they had just, I mean,
he said this was Star-Lord if Star-Lord never left Earth.
Right. Right.
maybe,
yeah.
Back on Eric's point, though, about seeing this in theaters, I think that if this would have been a theater movie, we would have been wowed so much by the cinematography and the graphics and the CGI and everything that it would have been kind of like a bait switch. Like, I forgot about the story because the visuals were so beautiful on a big screen. Seeing that on a big like IMAX screen would have been amazing.
I think it would have felt like when I watched Ready Player One.
And Ready Player One,
Ready Player One was very visually entertaining, but it was still kind of a meh movie. This movie, again, I don't dislike it. I liked it. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't good, you
Right.
know, if that makes any kind of sense. It was it totally predictable? Yes. Like who didn't know that the little bot was her brother like immediately, and that the evil, you know, Bezos looking CEO was using the brother to, I mean, it was like that was
Yeah. Yeah. You
so
knew.
obvious.
Let me tell you this.
So
The biggest surprise to me was when Caitlin called the little Anthony Mackie crawling out of the big Anthony Mackie's head. She's like, "Oh, when did we see the little robot?" And I was like, "What are you talking
Yeah.
about?" And then it
Right.
fucking happened. I was like, "Bitch, are you serious right now?"
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's
That
I agree with you guys where you say it's like it's still it's not as good as the sum of its parts, because there was something lacking. I don't know what it is. It could just be that it was written for 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds, and so the depth is not there.
Mhm.
Um
I mean, that's certainly
but
true. Like you had an opportunity with this movie to take a different tack, to do something interesting with AI. And not only did they not take a different tack or try something new, they literally did nothing. They just basically
but
said
because
AI,
it's a book,
boom.
but because it's a book, you have to take into account that the author of the original book probably knows dick all about actual AI. And again, you know, when you have the contrast of the the Oregon Trail computer,
Mhm.
while simultaneously somehow in 1991 AI took over, and you know, these bots can do everything while people are still using AOL. Like there's something like fantasy about that.
Of
And you
course.
have to allow it to be fantasy.
I get it. They're trying to be retro, right? But it's like you had these opportunities to do something interesting. They didn't do anything interesting. They didn't do anything new or fresh. They had these great actors that they just didn't utilize. It's like I'm with you, Eric, in the sense that I didn't like it wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen, right? I didn't hate it, but I would give it a 4 out of 10.
It
You know
was
what I
no
mean?
Battlefield Earth, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's no Battlefield Earth.
Oh yeah, that movie sucked.
Mm-mm. No,
Is
no.
that the one
Good
we watched?
sequel.
Charlie Murphy, that shitty
I
one.
kn- Charlie Murphy. Which one?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's his name. Maybe not. What's that shitty movie we watched?
I can't remember.
I
You're, yeah, you're freaking me out.
What?
Alex, was there any, I'm sorry, I don't know if I cut you off at some point. Was there anything else you wanted to say about the movie?
Gus?
what's
No,
that?
No.
Alex.
Oh, Alex.
I was just going to talk about how expensive it was, because apparently it cost like $320 million.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Jesus.
And
Was.
which things are getting kind of ridiculous now with the
That's
price of movies,
ridiculous.
because somebody actually did the math on it, and like John Carpenter's entire filmography of movies adjusted for inflation was $270 million,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
So this has got to stop, because if you put $320 million into something and you just get something that's not terrible, but some people
Yeah.
think it is. Some people think it is absolutely terrible. And the best reviews I see are getting is us saying, yeah, it's not that bad, but
Right.
it's not good either.
No.
It's
Its
like,
audience score
and
is
it's
73. Its audience
but,
score is
I
73.
mean,
Its
I would
critic
say
score
like,
is 13.
Right.
You know, or something like that. So
but I mean, I would say like, I mean, to your point about how, when we are 15 years old and everything, it would be different, sure. But I think quality is still quality, you
Mhm.
know? Like, and I think the quality of this movie,
is it
below
though?
average. I would
Because
say below average, regardless of who it's made for,
Right.
right?
well,
Like, we watched
yes.
recently, I watched Cruella, Juba showed me that
Mhm.
movie, and I had never seen it. And that's, more of a kid family movie, but it's still
Right.
good, dude.
Dude,
Like,
Yeah,
Cruella,
Cruella was good.
Cruella
But
is way better than it has any business being.
yes,
right.
Cruella is
And
good. But again, a never-ending story. I'll say it again. When I watched Neverending Story when I was a kid, that was the greatest movie I'd ever
no.
seen. I watched it as an adult, and it is dog shit.
Mm,
It is complete dog shit.
right.
The puppets are dog shit. The acting is dog shit. Atreyu losing his horse, which I
Right.
like, was devastating. as an adult, I was like, why do I give a fuck about this? This horse has been on screen for 45 seconds.
Sure.
Is it just that it's a horse? I mean, again, sad, like sad, but I remember being like gutted as a child watching that. Like, it's a horse, you know, and I'm like, but when you look at it as an adult, they made no connection there. There was no depth to
Right.
the companionship of him and the horse. They were like they weren't even on screen together for more than a minute, you know. But as a kid, it's like I created all that in my brain.
So do you think that's what they did with this movie, that they were hoping that, the childish innocence of young people would
I
make
think
up for
there's some
the
of that, yeah.
glaring gaps in the plot?
100%. Like you're just looking past. You're just looking. It's just again. I hate to bring up Damsel again because it's a Millie Bobby Brown movie again, but there was certain things in there where they had like they had established this kind of this world, and then all of a sudden she was talking to ghosts, right? And we're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Where did that come from?
Don't get Gus started on Damsel, dude.
No,
He'll
I
flip
don't
out.
I don't
You know what I mean? It's like when you do that with like stuff made for 15-year-olds. Again, we're gonna talk. I'll talk about that in a second when I talk about finishing the Flash. Right? When you start talking about stuff made for 15-year-olds, you have to I feel like it's you have to take into account that they are just gonna like take some of those fucking plot holes and just go stick their thumb in it.
Sure.
Fucking stop the water from coming out. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That's like all they got. You know, but
I would say the thing that would make me kind of disagree that they're aiming for that kind of market is the price tag. Like you don't spend 320 million
right. Yeah.
trying to appeal to like 15-year-olds. You know, you want the whole family to like your movie.
well, but that's the thing is, my whole family did watch it,
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure.
and I have a 16-year-old and a
I'm sure
12-year-old.
some do.
So,
But yeah,
It just didn't work. It just didn't work on multiple levels. Like you watch a Pixar movie, it appeals to young people, but it also has stuff for adults, right? It's like
right.
it's multi
still-
multi-planar.
I feel like if this movie would have come out in 2010, 2009, something like that, if they would have cut the trailer a certain way with all the CGI and everything else that made it look larger than life, you would have had people lining up to watch it. And yeah, it would have been very underwhelming, but you would have had a huge opening weekend with it. You would have made a shitload of money for it initially, and then it would have died off. It would have tapered off.
I agree. I agree with Bueller. If you would have cut this differently and did some things to it, it could have had a $120 million opening. But yeah, it would have had like a 70% drop off the next week, because everybody who wanted to see it would have saw it. The biggest issue with it is what Alex is talking about. There's no fucking reason this movie should be $320 million.
Right.
There's no reason. And some of these things, whether it's Acolyte, how that cost, whatever they said, $280 million for their episodes, or She-Hulk that cost $200 million for their episodes, or some are saying Snow White is costing them up to $350 million. That's the kind of shit that, like, because of the reshoots and all that other stuff, that's the kind of shit that like Hollywood needs to get. You know, they need a Doge, like, not to get too political, but at all. But they kind of need a Doge because this is ridiculous. This is getting stupid.
Yeah.
There's no reason that movie should have cost.
I think a lot of
$320 million. If that movie cost $120 million, I would have believed you. I would have been like, oh yeah, $120 million, that's a lot.
but the industry itself,
somebody should be fired. Multiple people should be fired.
Yeah, it's because Godzilla -1 was like 20 million.
Yeah.
Dude, $15 million
So you could
for that?
It was
so you
amazing.
can make like what is it, 18 Godzilla -1s for this movie.
Right.
Absolutely
And
ridiculous.
it's like, and so
Right.
a lot of that's just like, I mean, not to get into too much detail, but all the unions and stuff involved and all the Hollywood making it just make it. I remember reading something that if you try to change a light bulb on a set and you're not the licensed electrician, you get fined. Like they can't have you do that. If a light bulb needs to be changed, they need to call their licensed electrician to change the light bulb. Just stuff like that.
I mean, it goes
Just
all the way back
ridiculous.
to Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi lost money, according to the books.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, you look at the budget cost of it, it's a grain of salt, dude. It's all we can go conspiracy theory on it all day, but it's
Right.
money laundering.
Yeah.
They
Some-
spend, yeah, it's money laundering.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. You got a lot of graft. You got a lot of people who are like, I'll pay you this and you can pay me
The
that.
only way this movie should have cost 320 million is if you
Cast.
paid if you were paying like the enormous cast $15 million a pop.
right. And that's
You
kind of
know,
what I think.
and there was like
That's
8 guys who made like $15 million
and
in
I
this
bet
movie.
you if you
Right.
And
broke
that's
down
not
the
the
cast
case.
salary, you're going to see a huge amount of money paid out to at least Millie, Stanley Tucci, Chris Pratt, and possibly Giancarlo as well.
You're
Yeah,
talking
you're
you're
getting
talking
like
you're
60
talking 10
million.
million tops to you're probably talking 10 million to Pratt, 8 million to Millie. Tucci and Esposito are doing it for 2 or 3 million. And then
But
everybody
what I'm
else is
saying is
going scale.
on the books, it could be
On the
different.
books, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Who knows? There's no way that we can know that. So I think that ultimately our our decision on Electric State is it's a thumbs down, but it's,
Yeah.
if you've got kids and you want to watch it with your kids, they might enjoy it. It's not the,
I think what I would say is the the most apt thing is that the critic score of 13% is ridiculous, and the home score, the audience score of 73 is probably overstating.
yeah,
Mhm.
It's not a 73, but it sure isn't a 13 either.
right.
I'll
Yeah,
say
I'd give it a
this.
5. Yeah, give it a
I'll
5.
say this
I'd
about
say.
it. It's a movie.
It is a movie of the time.
It is
Yeah.
a movie. So let's go around the table real quick. Does everybody do we have something that we want to talk about? I'll kick it off. I just want to throw this out there. I watched Moana 2, right? I'm a big fan of the first Moana movie, really liked it. I did not like the second movie. I thought Moana 2 phoned it in. I thought the music was no good. I thought the rock was flat. I thought the plot was even stupider than the first one. The first one was kind of stupid, but that's all right. Kind of expected. The villain, there was no story. There was nothing about the villain, and it just ultimately was not. I feel like they rushed it out, right?
Mhm.
Like they were like, "Oh, Moana was hugely successful. Quick, let's make another." So, just throwing that out there.
Yeah,
Eric,
I
what do you
think
got?
they might have done that because they had, remember before Inside Out 2, Disney Animation had just been reeling off fucking stinkers, bombs,
Right.
bomb after bomb. Then Inside Out 2 comes out, that makes $1.6 billion.
Inside Out 2 was really good, I thought.
Yeah. And then this one, and then we're like, well, let's pull out, Moana 2. Let's start pulling out the hits or like sequels to the hits. And Moana made over $1 billion. I think Moana is like somewhere around like 1.1 billion. So, that really righted the ship for Disney animation. So that's why they're going, oh, do we need to make another fucking Frozen? Do we need to make I think they're already talking about Toy Story 5 and stuff like that. Because their original stories, they can't get over the writers self-imposing their politics into the stories. So they're going with like the stuff that people love already. And that
Mm.
seems to be working out a lot better for them.
Well,
But what ends up happening is you get a bunch of sequels. And as Jubal's point out, a lot of times sequels aren't as good as the originals.
just
So,
warning people, just don't expect to like it.
yeah.
That's all. So what do you got? Eric, you
So
want to talk about
what
something?
what I have is like I was telling you guys, I put myself through the gauntlet of bad shit. I watched Borderlands with my son. I watched Craven, and then I finally, after 2 years, finished off the last 2 episodes of the Flash CW series.
And then I killed myself.
What's that?
And then I ate broken glass.
Yeah, dude. I'll say the worst by far was the Flash. It was like clocking into work. It was definitely like clocking into work to watch those last 2 episodes. The villain that they used, horrendous. The acting was terrible. The writing's terrible. It was and for a show that I really enjoyed, certainly the first 2 or 3 seasons, I really enjoyed it. Man, just went off a cliff. Just went off a cliff. Everything's time travel. It's all time travel nonsense. None of it makes sense. It's all dumb. Um, I really can't say enough bad things about it. So Borderlands, not the worst movie ever made. I think it was terribly miscast, and that's from a person that hasn't played the game. So I think for people who played the game, you might actually hate it more than me, right? So Kevin Hart as Roland to me did not make any sense. I don't watch Kevin Hart movies for him to not be funny, basically, you know. Kate Blanchett, literally just from what they showed me, and then when Jubal told me later, I was like, yep, that's exactly what I thought. She was playing a part literally that should have been half her age, right? So I think she was maybe 53 when she did the role. She seemed like she was playing the part of a character that was 26, right? And I told that to Jubal, and he was just like, yeah, that's kind of, yeah, the character is probably 26, 28, something like that. I'm like, that made no sense to me. And then to hear Jubal tell me there was a couple characters they didn't even have,
Right.
like the
Zero.
sword, the
Zero's not in
swordsmith
it.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So certainly not a bad movie. Kind of predictable, funny in parts. I think Claptrap with Jack Black by far the best part. I chuckled out loud probably 4 or 5 times. So that was pretty good. But again, it's not one of those where I think their fucking audience or their critic scores like a 9. And it's like, okay, you know, it's not a 9, but it's like a 32. You know, it's not great. And then Craven, there was like a good movie in there, but they made bad decisions. I don't agree with him being like a conservationist type where he's like, I'm gonna hunt people and stuff like that. I think the most disappointing thing about Craven is if you watch the Red Band trailer, you saw 80% of the violence
Right.
of the movie, which I thought was kind of weird. I mean, we see that all the time when we watch a trailer and we realize that 80% of the jokes were in the trailer,
Right.
you know? But to see like 80% of the violence, I'm like, oh, there's the thing with the bear trap on the guy's head and he slits the throat with the tooth and that's it, huh? Oh shit. That's all you did. And then there's like a couple of shootouts that you don't see. And then the other thing that bothered me about it is a lot of Russian stuff in there, and I don't think any of them were authentic Russians. And I think Russian is like an accent that a lot of people think they can do.
They're all
Oh,
busy
vodka.
fighting in the war right now.
Right.
What's that?
They're all busy fighting in the war.
Right, yeah. But I drink vodka. Like you think you can do the accent, but I think very few people can sound authentic doing it. So you had like Russell Crowe, who's an Aussie doing it, and then you had Craven, who's a British guy or an Aussie, I forget, and he's doing it. It was just like bad Russian accents everywhere. But I would say that was the best of the 3.
Just all kinds of bad
and still
stuff.
not good.
That's not promising at all, dude. If Craven
No, it's
was
not.
the best of those 3, that's
It's
fucking
not.
horrible.
It's
So-
not.
Craven is like the best thing you watched lately. Like,
No,
Man.
the best of those 3 was Craven, and it was not good.
Mm,
But it was like a 40,
that's
right?
rough.
It was like a 40, 45.
So,
You know,
Alex, Gus, and Joe, has anybody watched anything good? Like, let's try to end on a high note. Yeah.
I watched something that's not new, but I went back and I finally watched and finished the show called Dark on Netflix. I think I mentioned it.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it's a fantastic show. It's just like you gotta. It's not, you know, light entertainment. You gotta decide that, okay, I'm gonna watch this and I'm gonna watch it like you're studying for an exam or something.
Right.
You know,
Right. It's involved.
because you know it's really cool because you know there's a lot of problems with time travel in narratives and stuff like that. And instead of sort of using it kind of embraces all these like weird mechanics of time travel from previous movies and shows, and it just really, instead of sort of like bypassing them, it just actually digs into them and puts that as part of the story. So without giving too much away, it's a great show. But yeah, there's so many threads that it creates that you have to follow that you got to figure out. I'm going to finish this in like 3 weeks or a month.
You gotta watch it with a notepad, right?
Yeah.
Taking
Yeah,
notes.
yeah.
I get that.
At the very least, no interruptions.
Right.
And then if you come back like 7 days later to watch the next episode, you screwed yourself. Yeah.
Nice.
But I mean, it's a fantastic show. And it's like
Dark. That's
German, so the sensibility is very different.
right. Dark
Right,
on Netflix. I've actually wanted to finish that, so
Yeah.
I'll if you say it's
Anybody
good, I'll
in
go
it?
back and
Who's
check
in
it
it?
out.
Oh,
Nobody. It's a German.
no, but it's German.
Oh,
I think
gotcha.
It's a German
Okay.
series. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gus, Joe, you guys got anything?
Well, I mean, I just watched this compelling movie recently starring Jessica Biel and Jamie Foxx, flying fighter planes.
Well, shut up. You watched that?
Wait, what is it?
I don't even know what it is.
It sounds awful.
It's Stealth from 2005.
Oh
Do you
man.
remember when we watched Stealth, Jubal?
Oh.
We watched it with Isaac, and then we told Alex, we're like, dude,
We tried to tell him.
it's not bad, but you have to stick around to the end.
Yeah, you got to watch the whole thing. You got to
You
pay
got to watch
attention.
the whole thing.
Right.
At the end, it gets really good. And Alex was like, fuck you guys. I know you're lying.
Because I left because you guys were gonna watch it, and I was like, no. And I left, and you guys all watched it. I went home and I fucking
True.
played PlayStation.
It's true. It's
So-
true.
So I watched
Awful.
Den of Thieves 2 with O'Shea Jackson and Gerard Butler. And I got to say, they took their time with this one. They really went back to the drawing board and tried to come up with a good storyline from where the last one left off and how to pick it up and how to develop characters and how to make them more interesting. I'm not saying it's a great movie. Like, if you guys watch it, don't be like, Joe said this was good and it sucks. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is they did a really good job making a sequel to the first one, because the first one was, I mean, whatever anyway.
Right.
But the way they changed up the second one and kind of threw in some surprises and made it a good caper cat and mouse burglar type thing. Like, it's a really good sequel, dude. So if you enjoyed Den of Thieves, I would venture to say you will really enjoy Den of Thieves too.
Okay. Well, that's not bad. Gus, you got anything?
No.
All right.
Oh, no, I do not.
I feel you, dude. I feel you.
No,
I feel like
it's
we're in a
not-
dry spell right now.
It's
I feel
not
like.
just that there was nothing good, because I don't like any of it. But no, let's see. I watched. If you're having trouble with Reacher, I'm not going to give anything away. If you're having trouble with Reacher, keep on keeping on, because I watched Reacher, I think last Thursday, and it's the first time I liked it.
Okay.
You did
Yeah.
like it. I liked the newest episode. I did. I did.
If you're having trouble with Reacher,
Started a little slow. Yeah, you're saying they turned it around.
off.
The latest one was maybe my favorite of the series so far.
Okay.
Of the season so
like
far.
and honestly too, like, we haven't talked about it. Maybe we did. I don't know. Yeah, we did talk about it. Daredevil seems promising,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, Daredevil seems promising. Don't want to turn it off, which is like
Right.
you know how there's the Rotten Tomatoes critic and shit. It's like, does Gus want to turn it off? You know, it's really fucking good if I don't want to turn it off. It's like super, super good, because I fucking feel myself just wanting to crush the fucking TV. If I don't want to turn it off, it's excellent. It's the
I don't
best.
want you to crush your TV, Gus. I don't want you to have to do that.
But that's all right. No, I got nothing. I fixed the car today. I smashed my thumb a couple times. I don't even care. Beautiful car is running like a dream.
Good man.
Beautiful day out in the sun. Dog was sunbathing.
I haven't even seen the sun in like 6 months.
Ah!
Anything else? Anybody? No? We're good? All right, let's call it there. Let's call that an episode. Thanks for joining us, everybody. See you next week.